am bringing you today my Tech Adept build using the Psiloi Vivisectors. Gearing up the Tech Adept is very grindy, but I finally have the items I wanted. With this setup, the Vivisectors survive even on +18 missions, so you don't have to play a pure self-destruct build.
You've set a fine example for their kind, Inquisitor.
$20 points in logic for the 5% crit chance, the 25% damage bonus and the movement speed. 15 points in bionics, we get energy shield when spending data flux and all resists. If you need more survivability, you can take out 5 points from logic and put them into bionics for the Aegis protocol. We want 25 points in mind link. The last milestone is most important, so we can keep spamming our Vivisectors if we need to. The second milestone giving us health and suppression per data flux is also very good. On high level missions, use Blessing of Saint Victorious for the survivability, and on low level missions you can exchange it for this one for the extra movement speed. With this one we get an additional 66% damage bonus, since we can spawn in our Vivisectors all the time. Lastly, this perk so we spawn in an additional Vivisector. Get decent defenses and try to get over 15% crit chance. We mainly need it for our enrich tokens, so it doesn't need to be too high. Lastly, get decent cooldown reduction so we can keep summoning our Vivisectors. Important to know, as a Tech Adept, getting more enchant slots is much more important than on other classes. There are a lot of enchants that boost our construct damage, so even getting one more slot gives us a massive damage boost. I also recommend that you check out the enchant viewer, so you can min-max the construct damage and defenses. On our neural implant we want all resists, mind link and 3 boosts to our construct damage. The eye implant, here don't mind the double relic enchant, it's an persistent bug in the game. Try to get crit chance here, physical and melee damage, since those are the main damage types of our constructs, and resists. I went mostly with heat and physical resists, since those are more common. Main implant, the relic enchant gives us a way to apply burn. We can roll attributes on here and boost our Vivisector damage. You can also get some more crit chance. Socket 100% construct HP, so they survive better on high level missions. Purity Seal, getting a fear aura, so we apply another debuff. And with this one we can easily apply the general vulnerability from our Signum. Roll defenses on here, and again melee and physical damage. Alternatively, you can use this Purity Seal, so you can get suppression damage reduction and get here the fear on hit enchant. We are using a Techno Martyr girdle, so we get another construct slot. Get the HP per enrich token enchant for a great healing boost, and roll here as many construct defenses as possible. You can also boost the Vivisector damage. I socketed shield efficiency and effectiveness, but you can socket whatever you want in here. We are using the Techno Martyr armor, so we get another construct slot. The end goal is getting the Vestment of Shattering. With this we can apply all vulnerabilities, which means more debuffs, so we can boost our construct's damage even further. Until you get it, you can wear any other Techno Martyr armor. For example this one, giving us a Rosarius field. But then you have to exchange one of our perks for this one, so we have a way to apply those vulnerabilities. Socket the Ethereal Doctrine, so we have a great death protection. For our Inoculator, we want this one, so we can get constant shield gain when we spawn in constructs. Here we can get more attributes and try to get the Inoculator on kill enchant. I use Bloodborne, 2 Psychons and 1 Holdfast. And socket again construct HP. For our weapon, I'm using the Plasma Caliber Beta with the seasonal Wrath of the Void enchant. This gives us the Warp Aura, which helps us greatly to apply all the debuffs very fast. So our constructs will get the massive damage boost from their items. But don't worry, I have an off-season alternative. You can use this one instead, giving you a nice damage boost as long as you can keep the buff up. But this can get hard on high level missions, or if there aren't many horde enemies on the map. Another alternative would be something like this, so we get some AoE explosion damage. If you are not using the seasonal weapon, you have to socket either the Heat Aura Doctrine or the Shock Explosion Doctrine. Since we are using this Iron Plant, we will have a Shock Aura then. In any case, we want some aura to apply the debuffs around us, to boost our construct's damage. We wanna use the Plasma Caliber Beta, mainly for the Plasma Beam. It lets us target designate our enemies, so our constructs will focus the enemy. And as long as the beam is active, our constructs get another 50% damage boost. Also, the heat damage of the weapon lets us apply the burn debuff as well. Get the physical and melee damage enchants for constructs, and in the other 3 roll various other damage boosts for debuffs. Socket the physical damage doctrine, and socket in the 2 other slots the Ordinatus Psalm for the armor reduction and the suppression gain. Our first signum is the general vulnerability one, so we get another debuff on enemies, get here cooldown reduction, crit chance, physical and melee damage for constructs. The second signum is the signum of oppression. With this one we get another debuff source. As an alternative you could use this enchant for example, giving us more crit chance. And with this one you could roll more physical and melee damage on it, which you cannot roll on ancient relics. For our secondary weapon, use any weapon with only 1 attack skill, so we get another summoning slot for our constructs. I am using 4 Vivisectors, 2 with the claw and 2 with the chainsaw. The claw will help us to apply bleed on enemies, and in the last slot is 1 Cataphron Vanguard. He will be our tank and gives us some other benefits. I'm using the Power Axe, since this one gives him the taunt ability, and this one will apply slow as well. As you can see, I didn't max out the weapons yet, since it gets extremely grindy at high levels. So this build can do even more damage when maxed out. On one of our Vivisectors, we wanna get this enchant on an offensive module, so we apply poison. For the secondary enchants, roll again damage boosts. Our second offensive module will be this one, giving us damage per debuff, which will be massive with all the stuff we apply on enemies. Lastly, I'm using 1 endurance module. It boosts our base health, and I roll this enchant, so our constructs get constant healing. I'm rolling physical and heat resists and damage reduction. Important to know is that modules roll with 2 to 3 secondary enchants, so always try to get a 3 enchant one. And the difference between a level 90 item and a level 100 item is quite big, as you can see here, 47 and here 27. So you can boost your construct's damage by a lot if you get high item level modules. Our second Vivisector will have the same setup, just now we are using 2 damage per debuff offensive modules. And also the same on the third. And the fourth one. On our Vanguard, I'm using one offensive module with this explosion enchant, so we get some more AoE damage. I also rolled one melee damage life drain, so he can survive better. Our second offensive module makes him apply another debuff. And lastly, the same endurance module again. The construct defense tree will help our construct survive high level missions. And this one gives us a nice defensive boost to our Tech Adept. If you feel that your constructs die too fast when you're using this skill, you can remove this point. The construct offense tree will give us a lot of damage boosts and also unlock abilities for our Vanguard. Some HP gain. And this skill will give us another big damage boost since we are having a lot of Vivisectors active. The crit tree. Here we get 5% crit chance and we're getting healed on crits. The damage over time tree. For this one, so we apply slow on bleeding enemies. In the construct ability tree, we are unlocking skills for our Vivisectors and for our Vanguard. Here we also get data flux gain, and this one will help us to spam our Vivisectors more often, and they also get to use their skills more often. The support tree, so we get HP gain when we summoning our constructs, and we get data flux regen. The movement tree, so we get cooldown reduction from here. In the construct specialization tree, we are getting more data flux regen and also make our summoning skills cost less data flux. Here also we get more cooldown reduction, so we can spamming our Vivisectors more. And here we get some more benefits for our Vanguard. Lastly, getting some AoE damage. Max out the defense tree, so our Tech Adept has decent defenses. I put 1 point in the radical tree, but you can play this build also on a Puritan Tech Adept. First, you have to switch to your secondary weapon and summon your Vanguard. And just switch back to your secondary weapon if you have to resummon him. I also recommend that you disable the floating battle info. This will be the damage numbers, and that you also disable the construct HP bar. And only have it enabled in the tactical mode. This way your screen will be not super crowded and confusing. Because as you can see, if you turn it on, you will have a lot of stuff going on your screen. It will be very hard to recognize what's going on. Now I'll show you a 118 mission.
Of heresy and corruption is spun by powerful beings and perverted minds. Hunt their leaders, and this construct of evil will come crashing down. Show no pity. Duty prevails. You've set a fine example for their kind, Inquisitor.